So first, I want to just go over some basics on RC. This isn't really portal specific, but it's just kind of like some overall system basics. So first, on any computing system, you're going to have some type of data storage. You're going to have to house your data that you want to operate on. So any user that gets an RC account will automatically have access to a home, a work, and a scratch directory. Okay, so every single user gets these user-specific storage locations. Your home directory is reserved for configuration files. I mean, you can see the space quota here. There's only 16 gigabytes allowed in your home directory. And a lot of times we see people hitting this quota because they're using their home directory as their primary storage. Your work directory should instead be used as your primary storage, and then you should reserve your home for configuration files. Okay. And we'll kind of go into more detail about what I mean maybe by configuration files when we do the command line session tomorrow. So tune into that if you're specifically curious about kind of what I mean by these configuration files. But a lot of times, software, when you run it, it will automatically create some configuration files. It may save some command history, stuff like that. That's considered part of your configuration file. So you want to make sure that you're using your home just for that. And then your primary data storage is going to be this work directory, which you can have up to 1 million files in it, and then you have a maximum of 128 gigabytes in there. So I see that there's a question in the chat asking if you would like to install software, should you install it in home or work? You should install it in work. So what I do is just at my top level work directory, I create an SW directory. So any personal software that I want to install, I install in that work/software directory. And then, of course, any configuration files for that software that you installed can go in home. But you just don't want to reach this 16 gigabyte quota in your home, because things will just kind of crash and things won't be able to properly run because your software has to manipulate those configuration files to run properly. So the home and work directories are both backed up daily. So there's a daily snapshot taking of both of these locations. And so like if you accidentally delete a file or something, you can contact us and we can restore it to the previous day, essentially. Now, Scratch, on the other hand, is not backed up. Furthermore, after a file reaches an age of 30 days, it will then be purged from Scratch. So Scratch is, specifically for temporary, and I'm saying unimportant files, but what I mean by unimportant means that you do not require that file moving forward. So a lot of times if you're running a job and you're spitting out a bunch of log files, for instance, you can redirect them to Scratch. Or a lot of people might write their data to Scratch and then copy it directly from Scratch to work, because sometimes that may give them a speed up. But just the important thing to note is that in Scratch directory, if anything is deleted or anything, there's nothing we can do. We cannot restore that for you. So all this to say, just use your work directory for your primary user level data storage. And then the last location that some users may have access to is a group location. So a group storage allocation has to be set up by a PI, but if a PI sets one up, they can have anyone added to their group storage, and then each individual group storage allocation, it'll vary in terms of like how many files and the size that's allowed in the group storage location. So to get added to a group storage, just have the PI of the group storage location or maintainer of that group space send us a request to add you, or send us a request directly. And then these group storage locations are great. So your question about installing software, if you're installing it just for yourself, you should install it in the work directory. However, if you have access to a group directory and you're installing the software for your whole research group, it would be great to put it just in your group directory so everyone has access to it. So there we just covered data. As I said, any computing system, you're going to need access to data. The next thing you're going to need access to is software. So at a one way that we deliver software on RC, and in fact over on Rural Restricted as well, is using this LMOD software. LMOD just allows us to package software into module files. So you can simply do, if you're in a command line session, which I'll show you this in the hands-on portion later on, but you can run this module avail command and it'll list all the software modules that are available. If you want to look at the specifics of one specific software module, you can do the module show command on that module name. You can also directly search for a string in the software stack by doing the module spider command. And then to load or unload software, you use the load or unload command. And you'll see, so if you just use the module load and then software name, for instance, like module load MATLAB, it'll just load the default version of MATLAB. However, you can specify which version you want loaded if there are multiple versions available. Like for instance, MATLAB, I know we have multiple versions available. R, Python, like we'll have multiple versions available of many of our software packages. So if you don't want the default version and you want a very specific version, you just throw a slash on the end of the module name, the software name, and then add the version string. And then to see any modules that you currently have loaded, you use the module list command, and it'll tell you if there's no modules loaded as well. And you can unload all the modules that you have by doing module purge. So module unload, you would unload a specific module. Module purge unloads every module that you have loaded in your environment. And then also you can, as I mentioned, you can install software in your group space. A really good solution to manage your research group software is to wrap all your software in these module files. So all you would have to do is use this module use command and supply your path to your group module files. This command adds that string to your module path variable. So then you can use your group software modules just how you would use any other software module available on RC. And again, if you want more details on this, I'd encourage you to attend tomorrow's session, the command line specific session. But I just wanted to kind of give you a broad overview today before we dove in and looked at the portal specifically.